Welcome back to my channel. This will be a kind of a part 2 to the other creepy encounter stories. I still have Darius. It's the same day. I'll be open and honest. Don't care. So, you ready for this one?
Yeah, last ones were pretty interesting. So let's see what these are about.
Well, this is just gonna be one. It's to the second half of the last story I read. So, this one is called Prelude to My Hills Have Eyes moment in Texas. My mom reminded me of the first half of the trip, which I'd apparently blocked out. It explains why I was so confused about locations and is bizarre enough for its own post. And in parentheses it says long, which it really is. So, you ready for the long story? Before we get started, don't forget to grab yourself a blanket, some snacks, and something to drink. Ready, Darius?
Let's do it.
So it goes. An old friend was helping me drive part way across the country. Head trauma had changed him from the person I once knew, and he acted increasingly bizarre until I was able to get rid of him. Now, long before someone tried to lure me out into the empty desert. Oh, that's creepy enough. I had a ton of questions about where the events in my other posts happened. It has nagged at my mind ever since. I should have had a general idea, but just kept drawing a giant blank. I've driven that same route many times and didn't remember anything remotely close to where I found myself that time. I eventually called my mom and asked if she remembered me saying anything about it. First, she pointed out that I had the wrong year, fixed now, and reminded me that I started out with a passenger. Suddenly, it all came flooding back, and I know exactly why I was so lost and on edge. I had just quit my job at the casino and hated my new job. It didn't pay like it was supposed to, and my boss was a condescending jerk. I hope she quit then. My roommate of 4 years and I had a falling out. I was crashing in my cousin's room. I couldn't find an affordable place, so when my mom called and said that she was having surgery and really needed me to come manage her shop while she recovered, I jumped on the chance to get out of the city and out in the forest of the Oregon coast. I didn't have a ton of money, but I figured my savings and a little help from my mama would get me there. However, every 10-foot U-Haul in the city was reserved or rented. I had to take a 14-footer, which was much more expensive. Suddenly, the money situation was looking grim. So when an old friend from high school in Oregon called me, asking if he could crash on our couch for 2 weeks to check out New Orleans in exchange for paying for gas, food, and hotels for part of the trip, I was super relieved. He wanted to be dropped off at his extended family's place in Texas, southwest of Dallas. He could help me drive too. I quickly agreed. He purchased his plane ticket to come down. I called my best friend from Oregon, Katie, told her I was coming and told her how Dan was going to help me to Texas. The three of us and his long-term girlfriend had been really close, so I expected her to be excited. Instead, I was met with long seconds of silence before she asked me if I knew about his accident. I didn't. A few years before, Dan had wrecked his bike while not wearing a helmet. If you're going to ride a motorcycle, a normal bicycle, wear a helmet. Right? Right, Darius?
I guess. I'm guilty for not wearing a helmet when I ride motorcycles and bicycles. So I'm guilty for that.
Well, hopefully this is a reminder of why you should. He was in a coma for several months. Katie told me that when he woke up, he was a different person. She said none of our old group would have anything to do with him anymore, but wouldn't really elaborate further. She would only repeat that he was just different. I felt a little nervous after this conversation, but the plane ticket was already bought. Disclaimer. When I knew him before, Dan was hands down one of the best people I've ever met. He was genuine, generous, and truly cared about everyone. You could trust him with anything. I realized that the way he acted later was at least partially the result of trauma and will try to be respectful of this fact. However, many things he did catapulted over the line of decency. I admit that I could have handled this much better, but in order to be honest, I had a lot of trouble finding understanding as his inappropriate behavior escalated. With that disclaimer in place, that I wonder how he truly became.
Yep.
Okay, she continues. Once he arrived, my cousin and I noticed that he was always slightly out of it and had no filter. Okay, we can deal with that. Then he says he forgot to transfer his money from his savings to his checkings, and his bank was giving him trouble about transferring it over the phone. He assured me he wouldn't get it straight before we left. Now he's the guy on the couch whom I am responsible for feeding and covering bar tabs for. I had plans for goodbye blowouts with friends, and my aunt didn't want him there if I was out. I wasn't missing the chance to see all my people one last time, so I was stuck with him. He promised he would pay me back. Yeah, he will. No, he won't. Then he started getting more and more handsy with my cousin, Natalie, and we made it very clear this was unwanted and inappropriate. He would talk into our room unannounced, especially at times we are getting ready and likely to be undressed. We actually had to install a lock because he ignored every demand that he knock and wait for a response. He would shook our feet as he walked by while we are laid out relaxing on the bed, stand so close we could feel him breathe, touch us every time we walk by, rub on our shoulders, and touch our hair. By the time I caught him smelling my hair and secretly taking pictures of our butts while we were walking, I was officially creeped the hell out and working toward fiercely. That doesn't make sense. I was about to be alone with him in a hotel miles from anyone I knew. I grew increasingly stronger in my reactions to what he was doing, trying to discourage him from his behaviors. He would apologize, then rinse and repeat. 2 weeks later, we were on our way, crossing a bridge right before Shreveport. He reached out and slid his hand across my upper thigh. He went for the money, and his fingers were brushing my lady parts. I swerved, smacked his hand away, and promptly began ripping him anew. She has it with the different kind of, not emojis, but like dollar signs, but it says asshole. Suddenly, the inside of the U-Haul was filled with flashing red and blue lights. Images of everything I owned being impounded filled my head. Luckily, the officer caught the byplay between us and let me go without a ticket. He cast a significant glance at Dan, who was acting like a total weirdo, wandering around talking to either us or himself, who knows, and simply told me, "Good luck." Yeah, thanks, Chef Pork Cop. I appreciate your understanding. By the way, that was supposed to be sarcastic. But like,
that was.
Yeah, but I can't read it sarcastic because I'm uncomfortable. Like, I'm genuinely uncomfortable. Anyways, once we got to Shreveport, I stopped for gas. Dan claimed that he had the money in his account now, so I asked him for it. He started freaking out, saying he'd lost his wallet. Funny, I hadn't seen him pull it out once in over 2 weeks, so not sure how he lost it. But I paid for the gas. As I'm climbing back into the truck, I'm 4'11". I really had to boost myself up because I started to slip. From the odd vantage point this put me in, I could see the top of his wallet crammed in the space between the tall dashboard and the side window. I didn't believe him when he told me he hadn't put it there on purpose. It was wedged in too firmly for all that nonsense. Anyways, I have some words for that, but I won't say them. Back on the road, I am a very introverted person and treasure calm moments. Dan talked and talked and talked for hours about ridiculousness, mainly how great he was in so many ways, and kept trying horribly, I might add, to seduce me. Oh boy. I was completely over him. Twice I almost kicked him out, but kept reminding myself that he had suffered severe head trauma and I couldn't leave him alone in the middle of nowhere with no money and still call myself a good person. That is true. It became my mantra. At the next gas station, he admitted that his family had never put money into his account. I was now seriously worried that I was going to run out of money before I could get to Oregon. I had been worried about that before I had started supporting a grown man for the last several weeks. Now I was approaching frantic. When we stopped to sleep at a hotel, I could only afford one room, but made sure there were 2 beds. I'm laying down trying to Gus. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Gus Fraba. Anyways, he gets in the shower, a long shower, but I'm okay with that. At least he's out of my space for a bit. Hopefully he'll whack it and stop harassing me for booty, was my thought at the time. Suddenly the bathroom door, which was a few feet from the side of my bed, flew open. A great cloud of steam billowed out. I have never witnessed so much steam after a shower. I'm still thinking, what the fuck, when the steam clears enough for me to see him. He's standing right inside the bathroom door, hands on hips, completely naked. It's still going. It's a very long story, and I'm sorry. I started stammering, asking what the fuck he's doing. Get dressed, etc. He just struts out naked and starts doing a gyrating dance, causing his penis to jump and twirl. Oh my God. What is wrong with this man? I'm sorry, this is not from the head trauma.
He was really wanting some.
This isn't from the trauma. I'm sorry. I studied psychology, and most head traumas, yeah, you'll forget. Even if you come back from a coma, yeah, you'll forget a few things, but your personality doesn't do a 360 and you become a fucking pervert. It doesn't happen that way. It's called you had to have some of this aspect before the head trauma even occurred. Let's continue though. Pulling the blankets up protectively and calling my dog to me, I started to feel real fear of this man whom had once been my friend for the first time. Once he saw his strip show was not having the desired effect on me, his whole countenance changed. His expression darkened. I saw open anger on his face. He started screaming and ranting at me about how great he is and how hard he's been trying to show me. But I just don't get it. He's a wonderful man, a perfect man with a perfect penis, right here waiting my pleasure. And I am insisting on being a blind, ignorant bitch. He continues calling me names while simultaneously trying to convince me I'm stupid for not being with him while I have the chance. He was naked the whole time he was yelling. Thinking back on it, I believe he took such a hot shower to make it look bigger, which really does crack me up. People are so strange. Darius, is that true?
That taking a hot shower
makes it look like it's bigger.
No.
I'm a female. I don't know. So it's an educational moment. Don't do this. Getting too hot. I have a candle going.
All the guys, like, that does not help. Just if you want it to be bigger, take a fucking pill.
There you go. Advice from a guy to other guys. Let's continue since it's such a long story. Like, it's its own video. It took forever to get him calmed down and dressed. I was trying not to show how scared I was. The reality of my situation hit me hard. I was alone in a hotel room far from everyone I knew with a mentally unstable man, one who felt I somehow owed it to him or myself to have sex with him. I already knew he had no boundaries. I lay there holding my dog all night, listening to every rustle coming from his side of the room. I was terrified that if I fell asleep, I would wake up to him trying to rape me. Thank God for my pit bull. I'm sure she was a major deterrent. I didn't sleep a wink, and my dog, catching the mood, wouldn't even leave my side to eat her dinner or breakfast. The reasons I didn't leave him there the next morning were, 1, he would be gone before I had to get another room, and 2, he promised his family would give me some cash when we got there. I needed it desperately, mainly because of him. Honestly, at this point, I would have just stolen his wallet.
Facts.
Like, not trying to be mean, but this has nothing to do with head trauma, and she wouldn't be a bitch for leaving him. She'd still be a good person.
I mean,
Because he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to make it like he's this greatest person. And so, because he's such a great person, a female should have sex with him.
yeah.
And that's not okay. And then sitting there lying he lost his wallet, and she could see where he had put it. I would have stolen the wallet, personally. I would be like, you owe me money. You were supposed to help me pay for some gas. Because he agreed he'd do that. And then now he's not.
I mean, I would do the same damn thing.
Anyways, let's continue. Last day with him. We're off main interstate and heading south. He was allegedly going to help me drive for the trip, but neglected to tell me that he didn't actually have a license. Again, he promised something and he's not doing it. Okay, well, he didn't promise. He said he would do it and he's not doing it. No way was that going down. So I take off and on zero sleep and pure nerves. Now I had wanted to put his drop-off location in my MapQuest itinerary to make it easier for me since I'd never strayed from the main interstate before. However, I was never able to get him to give me the actual address of where I was taking him. He continually assured me that it was easy peasy, no way I could get lost, etc., until I gave up in exasperation. Basically, she was so exhausted she didn't care anymore. I'm still furious and shaken about that the night before, and he immediately got us lost for about an hour and a half. Once we got headed back the right way, I decided to stop before we hit the main road and let Callie, my dog, pee. We stopped in a park area with a playground in some tiny town that I didn't pay attention to the name of. I was walking her, having left Dan in the truck with the air on. These 7 guys are walking by adjacent to the park. When they see me, they all stop, take a second, and almost as one gives me the same creepy-ass grins, they turn off the street and walk across the park to the playground area, a few hundred feet in front of me. They lean on the equipment in a loose horseshoe centered on me, still smiling. They didn't say anything or signal to me, only occasionally speaking lowly to each other. They were all dressed the same, ranged from early teens to early 30s, and just generally gave off bad vibes. They were staring me down until I felt like a rabbit that saw a fox. That's when, like, I know pit bulls are like, people classify them as aggressive. This is when I wish her pit bull had protective, like, properties to, like, growl at people, like, you know, like, on command.
Oh, yeah.
Now it is confirmed. This person is a female. Because why else would 7 grown men just continuously stare at a man?
Or why would a guy who is with this person twiddle his damn penis?
Yeah. So it is confirmed it is a female. Because I know in the last video, I was like, it could be a man. No, this confirms it's a female. I had a feeling it was a female. Anyways, let's continue. Callie, who usually loves everyone, started trying to drag me back to the truck in the opposite direction of these guys. I trusted her and followed, trying to act calm and confident. I felt neither. When I got up to the U-Haul, Dane had the back open. I tried to tell him to close it. We need to go now, but he was oblivious to all my distress signals. He kept insisting that we try to feed the dog since she didn't eat her last 2 meals. Okay, but feed her in the truck. We have to go. A quick side glance showed the men were still by the playground staring, but now they weren't leaning on the equipment. They were standing close together, talking and watching us. This is when Fantastic Dan informs me that he lost the keys. What? Really? I feel a sinking in my stomach and demand we search right now, quickly. As I scour the ground, I see the men have separated. 2 are in the same place, 2 are circling wide to the right, 2 doing the same on the left. They're all still staring at us, and I've lost track of one. I finally spot him. He must have started circling to the left before the other 2, because he was now almost directly behind the U-Haul, maybe 100 feet back. He was hidden from my sight where I'd been searching. They were going to most likely kill both of them and just take the truck.
That, or try to get her.
Yeah, but would you really try that with a pit bull nearby that generally was pulling her to go in the opposite direction of these men?
I mean,
because dogs, like, in dogs in general, like, if they feel like their owners is going to be in danger, they will attack. Even if you've never trained them to attack before, they will attack.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm also saying, too, like...
There's a dog, there's another grown man. No, listen, there's a dog and there's another grown man, and then there's 7 people trying to circle around a truck. They're going to most likely either kidnap both of them and kill them and take the truck, or something's going to go down.
I think they were attempting to kidnap her. You know, probably kill the guy, kidnap her, and who knows, do what with her.
Well, ready to continue?
Let's do it.
I was officially losing my grip on myself. Full fight or flight mode was taking over. I knew I had searched every inch of space Dan could have possibly been around, several times, even running my hands across the ground just in case. These guys were circling us and we couldn't get away. Our phones were locked in the cab. For a minute, time seemed to slow down and I just stared off, thinking how totally screwed we are. I think all the stress may have overloaded my system for a moment. My eyes straight to the bag of dog food, the whole reason Dan had gone out of the cab in the first place. No way, not possible, but maybe. Time snapped back into regular focus and I practically dove for the dog food bag, cursing and threatening Dan the whole time, like a maniac. I yanked it up and dumped it all over the back of the U-Haul, and there they were, the keys, shining silver in the wave of brown cable. I could have killed Dan in that moment, twice, but I just slammed and locked the back and got us the hell out of there. No, I would have fucking left Dan. I would have kicked him. I would have been like, get the fuck out. And shut the door, lock it, and just leave. You can do there and deal with the men. You did this on purpose. I think he did it on purpose to show that he's such a good person that he saved the day.
He probably did. He probably, he probably coerced it, or like, he may have talked to. He maybe had convinced the guys to surround the truck.
Okay, you ready? Because we're almost done now. Time snapped back into regular focus, and I practically dove for the... Oh, I already read that, sorry. The rest of the trip to where I dropped him off is a blur. I know he got us lost again for about 2 hours this time. I used that time to scream at him, admittedly not my best moment. Eventually, he had me drop him off on some random main street in a little town that looked like all the others. He didn't even tell me it was his destination until he had me pull over. I was angry that he wouldn't take me to his family's to get at least some money for taking care of him, giving him a place to stay and driving him so far. We had a truly marvelous fight, but I eventually gave up. I was just happy to be rid of him. I was exhausted but too overstimulated to sleep, so I decided to try to get a few more hours and to make up for the lost time and get back into familiar territory. My next stop for gas was where the gas station attendant tried to send me to his family enclave in the desert, and Mr. Texas saved my ass. So while I still don't know exactly where that creepy attendant lived, I do know it was south of Dallas, a little to the west and way out in nothingness. Not off the interstate, as I mistakenly assumed, but before my mom reminded me of my hellish detour with a scary ex-friend. And then it gives us back to, this is the original post, which happened shortly after I dropped off Dan. So what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
That if it wasn't for her shitty friend, she would have never been in this fucking situation.
Exactly. And obviously she's trying not to throw him out, but like, because he had a head injury. I'm sorry, but I feel like he was using that as an excuse to try and have sex with her. Like, and after you read it, do you think the same thing? Like, he was trying to, like, be a hero? when the whole 7 men came into play.
I still think he like.
I feel like he purposely did that. Like
Yeah, I think
if he was in the
like
cab, if he was in the cab of the car and they're pulled over by a park so the dog can go to the bathroom, right? He could have easily have seen those men. And
no,
he
probably like it's probably a spot where she didn't mention that he actually got out. He probably got out and actually talked to those guys.
I don't think, well, she's too busy trying to see if her dog is going to the bathroom, because I know in most states, if you don't pick up from your dog, you can get fined.
Yeah.
So, and especially since I think this was like a playground area, you definitely should pick up after your dog. Because it seems like it was actually right by a playground where kids go. So I think she was really watching her dog and was also watching the 7 men and what they were doing. So her back was most likely to Dan.
Most likely.
So she didn't know that Dan was getting out. And why would he care about if the dog ate or not? Like, there was a reason why the dog didn't eat, and it was because of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't care. You didn't care when you basically flaunted your dick around trying to have sex with someone who doesn't like you like that or want to have sex with you. So why do you care now? I feel like he was trying to help them rob them. And then try to play save the day.
Who knows what could have been really on his mind, you know. There's a lot of the things. There's a lot of motive in that, and the things that the human mind that makes people do things, you know. But again, you know, be careful who you're friends with,
and before you make plans to go on a trip with someone, definitely ask around. Like, she didn't know about the head trauma, but I swear he was using that head trauma thing to act the way he was acting.
I believe so.
Because, I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. I fell out of the car one time and head first and hit the ground. Yeah, it hurt, but you don't see me flaunting my boobs around to you or to anyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and yes, I may have been young, but if it was that much of a head trauma, the hospital would have never released him.
Sure.
He would have lived, most likely would have went into, I don't want to say an asylum, but like would have lived where other people who have issues like this would live, kind of like a rehab. Kind of like a senior center, like in one of those situations.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what.
I don't know what you'd call it. If you know, let me know down below in the comments. But like, I feel like they wouldn't have fully released him if he had much of that bad of a head trauma.
Right.
And we also don't know what the extent of the motorcycle accident was. It could have been he could have like hit something and maybe hit the ground, and that's what his head hit. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, this doesn't is I feel like this does sum up creepy encounters. Like, that's creepy. There's 2 creeps. Dan and the clerk who was trying to send this girl to their middle of nowhere. And when I was talking to you, I noticed in the comments, she did meet a lot of other nice people, other than Mr. Texas Man, as she likes to call him. But again, be careful out there. And if your gut tells you something's not right, go with it. Got any last words, Darius?
Nope. I think you said everything.
Okay. Well, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe and turn on the bell notification. And I'll see y'all in the next video.